Hey everybody, welcome to Composite Functions. This is part 2. We're going to be taking composite functions from a table of values today. It is important that if you're going to watch this video, you should have an understanding of how to compose functions algebraically already. So what you're going to find here is a table. Now this table has two functions, f and g, and you see the inputs here for f are along the top. So if we plug in, for example, if we want to know f of -1, okay, which we will in a little bit, we can look at f of -1 is going to be -6, or f of 0 is -5. Okay, and then below you have the inputs for g of x. So here are the inputs for g of x. And now, so what we're going to do is compose this function. So if we look at this first example, we want f of g of -4. So the first thing that we need to find, okay, is g of -4. So g of -4. That's the first thing that you need to find. So we're going to look down here at -4, and here's what we see. Well, g of -4, when you plug -4 in g, you get 2. So we're now going to find f of what our g of -4 value is, which was 2. Okay, so now we look up at the top and we go to f of 2, so we look at our value for 2. And we see that the answer, f of 2, is going to be 3. Okay, so it's not terrible taking compositions from a table, but let's look at another example. Let's look at g of f of -1. Well, we did f of -1 earlier. So g of, let's do a different color, g of f of -1. So the first thing that we need to do is find f of -1. f of -1 is right here, which when you plug -1 in for f, you get -6. So we're looking at g of -6. Okay? So g of -6, we're going to run out of space here, so let's go ahead and just write it over here. So we look at -6, and when we plug -6 into g of x, it spits out -10. So we know that g of f of -1 is -10. So let me show you just one more quick example and we'll be done. Okay, oops, keeps doing that. Sorry, everybody. So we're going to go to previous slide. Boom. Okay, so again, here's a table of values for f of x and g of x, and our inputs are on top for f, and our inputs down here are for g. Okay, so we're only going to find one example here. So we're looking at g of f of -6. So we're looking at g of f of -6. Okay? And let's go ahead and look at our table. So we need to find -6 under f. So f, -6, is right there. That output is 0. So we're going to be looking now at g of f of -6. Well, f of -6 is 0, so that goes in here. And we look at g of 0 now. So g of 0 is right here, which equals 3. Okay, so you guys, that is composite functions from tables. If you have any questions or comments, let me know, and we'll see you next time.